Hey everybody, so it's been a little while. I wanted to give you all an update, let you know I'm still alive and kicking, and just let you know what I've been working on lately. So tonight is going to be the lunar eclipse here in North America and South America, the Americas, and I am going to do a working, devotional working to Hecate. And you can't see her, but she's up top. Actually, I do have another printout of her right here. And so, why Hecate? So obviously, Hecate has been a deity who has been reimagined, or maybe a better word is she's been rethought of, her significations have changed a little bit since ancient times. So, and that I have no beef or anything to comment about that one way or another. I mean, it's just how it is. So, but my approach is going to be taking more of the stuff from antiquity, some of the PGM. That's the Greek magical papyri. It's basically spells. I'm just using some of those epithets that she has, some of the barbarous names in there, and I'm just going to do another quick working. I did one for her on the new moon, and instead of a full moon, we're going to have actually a lunar eclipse. So a lunar eclipse, again, generally speaking, eclipse magic is not something that is for beginners per se. But once you sort of get comfortable with it and are used to like the larger energies, it's a little bit different. Even this morning, energetically, I could feel a little something bubbling up. So why Hecate? Well, for those of you who have followed my progress slowly, in my slow progress sometimes, but those of you who have followed some of the stuff I've noticed about the SDA, I'm not the first person to notice that there are two different divine names. My theory about Boreoth, which is one of the names on the back of the or not on the back, in the circumference of the SDA, those letters in those 40 cells, is that it's a combination of Buto, which is the place where Wadjet was worshipped, and Uraeus, which is that general Greek name for Wadjet. So basically, the point of that is that it's opening up this Hellenic Egyptian syncretism. Yimon is in there, Amun, in Enochian it's more Iman instead of Amun, but it's pretty close. And so I figured maybe the other one, and it took me a while, it took me a couple years before I'm like, okay, maybe it's this combination of Buto and Uraeus, and then that fit. So at any rate, let me uncrooked this a little bit. It's hard to get this quite right. So at any rate, so that opened the door to Hellenic deities. And that's great because that's kind of what I grew up with. I think it was Baudelaire's mythology, Greek mythology. As a kid, I read that. And yeah, so I really enjoyed that mythology as a child. I still kind of was into that as a teenager. And then it was interesting to me that there's a little bit of this crossover. I've also mentioned working with the Gorgons, which in my experience, if you're going to use it like a Kabbalistic, they extend from Keter to Chokmah, which is if you're using Hermetic Kabbalah, that would be like the path of Aleph, and specifically in that direction, from Keter to Chokmah, not the other way around. And so it's been of interest to me. So all of this is to say that I've since been working with some dream deities. Those have actually helped my dreams. I haven't had nightmares since. And that's been really nice, first of all, especially because I've been sleeping so much. So Hecate has reached out And it's funny, in my magical group, there's been a large kind of collective working with Hecate. Not collective, but like each of us individually have synchronistically decided to start working with her. So, um, so she reached out. So that's one reason. Another reason is that she's pretty vast, and I'm noticing with different spirits, they're all sort of not quite coming in from the same plane or the same angle. So you're getting a slightly different dimensionality to what they work with. So Hecate in Hesiod's Theogony is said to have a portion of earth, sea, and heaven, which is basically the three parts that if you're going to go earth, Hades, if you're going to do the underworld, the sea, Poseidon, and then Zeus, heaven. Now Zeus, of course, is king of the gods, so they kind of like, so Zeus didn't take away any of her portion of that. So really a pretty broad way of looking at it. And she in particular sort of helps escort people from the underworld back to, the earthly plane. So she's pretty good for that. And Hermes also is sort of more like going the other direction. But I've been interested in Hermes. This is kind of an old school depiction of him. But yeah, so I've been working with him too. So all of this is to say, I'm really trying to delve somewhat into my unconscious mind. So obviously with the dreams, and obviously with the loss of my mother, and trying to get on somewhat better terms with sort of the whole of reality, which is always kind of what I'm about. So obviously working with Buddhist teachers and entities, so on and so forth. You can see an emanation of Tara right here. And I have a whole bunch of them up here, but that's been one of my primary goals. So anyway, Hecate has generally been associated with the lunar. So if you're aware in terms of like making change in the real world and sort of getting that last final planetary energetic movement down into the real world, the moon is where you want to go. Because that's just how it is. We're all in a sublunar, just below the moon world, and it's the only planet that a human being has laid a foot on. Interestingly enough, the astronauts did mass. They had the communion, Holy Communion, on the moon, which is interesting. Before they stepped forward and out of the lunar module in that Apollo mission. So anyway, she's been calling to me. So I've answered. I'm, and working with chthonic spirits. That's sort of, okay, what are we doing here? But I think I've been trying to get a better sense of both of the dead, and also it's not that I'm like I'm more interested in being at peace with the existence, being at peace with the darkness as much as the light. So that's not to say that I'm interested in doing demonic work. It's not really something I'm interested in at all. But that said, being in more of like an okay place with them is way better than being necessarily antagonistic. So far that's helped things out. Now, a quick update on my health for those of you who are wondering. Obviously, I do look a little tired. That is because I worked out today. My weight has kind of plateaued and gone a little bit in the wrong direction, so I'm trying to counter that. So I worked out again today as I did yesterday. I'm not expecting this to be done in a day. I'm going to experiment trying to get an orgone accumulator blanket, or an orgone blanket, I should say. So we'll see how that goes. I've also been trying to, just in the background, really do some energy work for about 10 or 15 minutes a day. This is something out of Scott Stenwick's blog, ananael.blogspot.com. He's really great, but it's basically just imagining, heavenly energy. If you were to use the term, you would say this would be equivalent to Reiki. People use Reiki way too broadly right now, but it's just this idea of like a heavenly energy as opposed to chi or ki, which is whatever comes up from the earth. If you were to use that model, right? So I've just been doing that, just imagining that opening up and more, and a similar amount of earthly energy coming up, and just trying to work through whatever it is that is making me so tired. So I know part of that is weight loss. And I'm just trying to do that. And so it's right now I've said, basically, since I looked at the scale, I said, okay, I'm going in the wrong direction. I said, now we're on 3 or 4 weeks of lockdown until basically my energy starts doing the right thing. Or if I get down to, let's say I'm at 245, let's say, if I get down to 220, and I'm still like tired, then obviously, I've done what I can as far as the apnea goes. So anyway, that's a long story there. So yeah, and still, gently asking the angels of medicine to help me out, but also I have to do my own part. It's like, you can't just keep asking them for the thing. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, other than that, I'm okay. Work's going reasonably well. So, and I've been very fortunate to have a lot of flexibility with my job to be able to try to tackle this. But yeah, some days I'm just very tired and I'm just like, nap. So I'm hoping that this last bit will start the alchemy inside that the angels did say I would be cocooning for a while. So I'm hoping that this will be the catalyst that actually gets me, out and transformed. So we'll see. And maybe Hecate is part of that. I don't know. I don't want to declare stuff too much in advance, but a lunar eclipse working is going to be a big thing. So my wife joked that I'm going to have to fall asleep at 5 in order to get up at 2:30 in the morning for this. But we'll see what happens. I have a feeling it's going to go well. I have my spot picked out, and hopefully a good 15-minute ritual. I'm going to have to bring milk and honey and garlic. I need to remember that. All these things where I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, remember everything you're going to need to bring. And some saffron to burn a little saffron. And I bought a little statuette. So this is me. This is just my approach to magic in general. I'm much more okay working with a lot of spirits, having a lot of them around me. But at the same time, I'm definitely going to call on Hecate to try to, especially her more energetic form, her Brimo form, to try to get me, my energy battery rejumped, as it were, and my motor running again. So, but that's it. A few other things going on that, isn't really worth getting into because it's kind of we'll see what happens next year. If it's successful, I'll get into it. But, if not, then, the powers that be have decided. I think that's it. I also have worked with, let me just point out right here, the Agathos Daimon. And I'm also calling Fortuna /TK, if or TK, depending on how you pronounce it, and Hecate, and way up here we have Photomachus. So that's a servitor that works with time and getting time bendy. For those of you who are interested in working with time and with Saturn, more of within the constraints of time, as opposed to Photomachus, Photomachus, who is much more like, let's use some cheat codes, as it were, to get around time. Then if you're working within time, though, There is going to be a very short span of time starting in early May when Saturn is going to be at 28 degrees of Pisces. And between 28 degrees and the very end of Pisces, 29:59, is when Saturn is going to be in its own term. So that's my plan for that period of time, which is to try to take advantage of that time to work with a Saturn remediation, because Saturn is trine my chart ruler, which is the sun. I'm a Leo rising, and so, but it's been kind of kind of a weight, and I'm trying to do some remediation. So my plan is to call on the Enochian angel of Saturn, the angelic king of Saturn, which is to say King Benapsen, as well as Prince Borges, who is his prince underneath him, and really try to just generally ask for as much as I can to get some kind of blessing. And that also kind of works with my chart, because it's trine within about 2 degrees my natal Jupiter. So I'm hoping that will that will maybe make this weight of age, which is kind of what I'm feeling right now. I'm almost 46. So I'm hoping that it will make things a little bit easier for me to tolerate. But oh well, and that's life. And I've also thought about like possibilities of, what if I'm just kind of in this halfway state for the rest of my life? I don't know. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. So just remember that anybody can get disabled at any time. It's the one minority group that we can all wind up becoming a part of, at any point. And we are all likely to become part of this if we live long enough. Really, the thing that I ask generally, in terms of like, oh, he's telling me what to do. Well, I am going to strongly suggest that, especially now, if you're in America or even in other places that depend on CDC information closely, like Canada, and I know there's been some conflict initiated by the US president. I did not vote for him. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, do get your vaccines. We're basically not going to have a flu vaccine shot this year, most likely. That's what it's looking like right now. And I'm speaking as somebody who watches this very closely. My wife's immunocompromised. So get your vaccines and mask. Yes, wash your hands, but mask is almost even more important right now. I live in Texas, where we've had a big measles outbreak, or it's the epicenter of a big measles outbreak. 220 cases so far in this country, and our Health and Human Services secretary is basically pretending that all you need to do is eat your vitamins and then you'll be fine, which is nonsense. He even suggested that the child who died, would have been okay if they exercised more, or if they just had better nutrition. And it's like, vaccines are like 97% effective against it. And almost, I think it's like, I want to say it's like 100% against death, and very, very, very effective against hospitalization. So anyway, that's how it is. So get both shots and double check your antibodies and your immune response to these things. But yeah, so anyway, I'm hoping that it doesn't turn out that way for me. I'm going to keep doing the energy work. But on top of that, I got, as far as this being a post-shingles syndrome, I did get a chicken pox vaccine, since my doctor wouldn't write a prescription for a shingles vaccine, even though I've already had shingles. So in case this is a post-shingles syndrome, I'm just, I got something against the chickenpox virus, even though a shingles vaccine is meant for somebody closer to my age. It's how it goes. It's like we do what we can in the healthcare system we have. So anyway, much love to you all. If you have anything you'd like to share, just feel free to reach out in the comments. Or if you have a question, you can leave it there too. I'm still getting over some stuff. Again, I mentioned my mom's death, other stuff in my personal life. It's just been, I'm still just trying to hang in there. So anyway, much love to you all, and just have a great eclipse. Bye.